Welcome to another episode of Voices of West Windsor. And this week, I'm so happy that we have Sonia Gawas. She is a very dear friend of mine. But apart from that, of course, she has been doing a commendable job for our township. She has been a part of the PTA. Now she's a councilwoman. So, and since Voice of West Windsor is celebrating these 3, 4 weeks for the Women's Day, so welcome Sonia for on this platform, and I'm very happy that you are a part of it.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for thinking of me. I am excited to talk to you and see what we can do. And, West Windsor, as I call it's my home. So anything I can do for my home is never enough, right?
Yeah, yeah. So as we started with West Windsor and you said home, so that's my first thing I want to check with you is what does Windsor mean to you, and what makes it unique in your eyes?
Okay, so I already said it's home for me, right? This is home, and um, everybody in Westminster is my family, extended family, if you call it, right? So now, what it means to me, this is where I actually um, see myself that I put my roots here after being in the country for 2 decades now, a little over 2 decades now, actually. But this is where I created my home, my family, my happiness is here. So, and this is where I actually even flourished in my volunteer works. Like I used to volunteer before as well, but this is where I actually got into the whole idea of this is my community, this is my home, this is what I want to, this is where I want to be and my raise my family, right? My kids, my children. So yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. That's a very common thing that I'm listening from, like, whoever I'm talking to on this Voice of Westminster platform. Home is one common word, which is like, a very unique thing about any town for that matter, gives you that feel. So, is there someone in this town who has inspired you?
I think I would say like I get inspiration every single day, every single time I meet somebody new. This community itself is an inspiration. It's a such a diverse community. I have been in this community for a little over 11 years now, and I have seen how this town has grown. When I don't say physically grown, yes, we have physically grown as well, but even just diversity that has come into this town is so diverse. So inspiration for me is every time I meet somebody new, learn something new, is this community itself is an inspiration for me.
Oh, that's so nice. So, now talking about you as a councilwoman. So, you have been in town council for the past 1 year now. So, with specificity, what do you view as your most significant accomplishment or accomplishments? Anything you would have done differently in whatever years you have been here?
Okay, so before I answer that, I would say like the whole idea of joining or wanting to get on the council was coming from volunteering into the town, right? Right from PTA to Girl Scouts, I've always been volunteering within the community. Even like running the cooperative nursery school for my when my kids were that age. It feels so far long ago, but they're in fifth and sixth grade, so they're not that old. um, but I took on office on January 1st of 2020, right? Soon after we
Yeah.
basically the world and like shut down with this
Yeah.
pandemic that we are living in, and it's been a year and we are still in that. So it has been definitely been being a new council member has been challenging in that sense, because we really did not get much time to get training. Like, I think I attended like one training, and then
Yeah.
everything was like, okay, learn and train on the go. As you are going, you are learning, like,
Yeah.
um so it has been definitely, and council in our town, West Windsor Council, is also board of health. So with the health crisis in the world right now, that also has added to our responsibility, to make sure everybody's health is,
Yeah.
everybody's safe. Definitely that has been mostly what we have been working on, and I have been working on. One of the biggest projects that, from the get from the beginning of pandemic when it started, was the one that I worked and was part of, was Mercer Mask Project.
Hmm.
I think that was a wonderful initiative that our community came together. And, coming from that one story where we heard that one of our friends came back, who's a nurse, came back saying that they were being told to use bandanas as masks, right? Because masks was not available a year
Yeah.
ago to the extent it was needed. So that was one statement that we heard, and it spiraled into, we can do better than that. And we started making homemade masks, and then word spread, and that small group of two or three friends became into a big group of people, where everybody wanted to volunteer and donate and give. And at the end, we ended up donating more than 20,000 masks.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was a big accomplishment, not just mine. I think it was the accomplishment of the community when they just came together. And it was purely donations. People were donating fabric, people were donating threads, their sewing machines, if they did have sewing machine, but they did not have the capability of sewing, washing the fabric, ironing the fabric, sanitizing the masks, like, it became a whole production of so many group of people. We created a whole production channel, and in virtual world where we could not have
Yeah.
contact with each other.
Yeah.
That was the major challenge, where we had to have everything had to be, because initially we did not know what this virus was about, right?
Yeah.
How it was spreading.
Yeah.
So you get something, you keep it out for 24 hours, 48 hours
Yeah.
sometimes, to, like,
Yeah. You never know.
so it was a major challenge that I think this community overcame. And again, I say I don't see that as my accomplishment, but it was definitely our community's accomplishment, where they came together. I saw children, 7 8 year old kids, who were sewing,
Yeah.
learning to sew. Like, my Girl Scout troop was 9 year old girls, did not know how to sew. We showed them how to, because they were going to learn sewing last spring, and it
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
But we taught them how to sew buttons, and they started making ear savers, because we started hearing stories of healthcare workers where the skin behind their ears were getting hurt because of wearing the
Yeah.
masks on their ears for so long, all day long, right? So
Yeah.
the girls started making ear savers, where you
Correct.
strip of fabric, basically put two buttons, and it goes in the back, and
Correct.
elastics, instead of on your ears, goes on the buttons, right? It was simple things, but just as an example, like,
Yeah.
age didn't matter. um, we had elderly uh, neighbors who were doing the same thing. They were crocheting ear savers, or ironing. Like, my father-in-law was very happy to iron. He's like, you want me to iron fabric? I'll iron fabric.
So cute.
Kids were helping with laundering all the materials that
Yeah.
were to be done. So it was definitely a challenge that we as a community overcame together,
Yeah.
and not only provided for our town, but also we actually started getting requests from National Guard. We provided for National Guard as well. So
Yeah.
just a group of volunteers
Yeah.
making masks at home, sewing masks at home, was able to accomplish so much in such a little time.
Yeah.
Um, was absolutely amazing. So that was one thing that I am very proud to be part of um, during this COVID crisis.
Right.
Um, then there were many other projects, the way we had the community come together doing food donations, and
Yeah.
doing um, the supplying, helping with medications for the elders who could not,
Mhm.
who was either could not or afraid to leave their house to even get to the pharmacy to
Yeah. Yeah.
pick up their medications. So we came up with a plan with the help of our local fire police, where we created a channel where and agreements between families and the pharmacies,
Yeah.
where we could, because again the pharmacies did not have enough people to deliver, right?
Yeah.
That was another challenge that we worked through. So it was just small pockets of projects that we did around to overcome the pandemic,
Yeah.
overcome COVID, or go around it, and how we could help um, others in our neighborhood who really needed the help. I think
Yeah.
was one of my our community's biggest achievements, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
And
No, that is, yeah, I agree with you because the Mercer Mask project was one thing that, as you said, it was started by a few of you, but the way it became, it created a ripple around. And I
right,
know so many people were involved in this. And it's a beautiful feeling because in those days, all of you stood up and understood the need. And at small scale, as you're saying, the kids were doing it, the elderly were doing it. And we spoke with Leah and Mary also about this. And it's so beautiful what you guys created at that time for the people who needed the most.
right.
So I would say that that was a really significant accomplishment. That was just out of the box thinking. So, March is Women's History Month.
Right.
And until the last quarter of the 20th century, very few of West Windsor Township representatives were women. And now, half a century later, this has changed. What, if anything, do you see as the importance of women in local government roles?
I think women play a big role, right? In general, and seeing the difference where we were half a century ago, where we were, and where we are now, right? Half
Yeah,
of the council is women
yeah,
now, on our township council, right? Half of us
more
are
than half actually.
more than, yes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's a huge accomplishment,
yeah,
where we are, half a century later. And women definitely bring a new perspective into the world, as I think everybody agrees, like not just local government, but in general, um, part of a workforce, having women part of equal parts, right? That's where we go back. I'm sorry, my dogs are being obnoxious. Just hold on for
yeah, 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 yeah. No worries.
that.
No, 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 that's fine.
They were trying to break the door open for me.
Yeah,
um, what was I saying? I lost my thought. um, we were talking about women in
in the, yeah,
local government workforce. um, so when I see myself, right, why I chose to join, or, chose to look at what I could do as a council member, or why I wanted to be part of the council. Um, um, it was just the idea of um, why I chose to be part of the council was because I wanted to see what I could do different other than just standing on the sidelines and complaining about things, right? It's
Yeah.
just a simple line. Like let somebody else
Yeah.
do it, or figure out a solution, right?
Yeah.
So for me it was like, instead of me complaining, maybe I can try. I
Mm-hmm.
may not be successful, but I could try to come up with solutions to things that may or may not be to my liking, right?
Yeah. True.
So that was just a simple concept that I always believe, that if you want something, go get it, right? So now going back to your question about um, what I think your question was, what
Like what do you see?
your food is ready, you can get it on the stove.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, no, 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 no. Okay. So, what do you see the importance of women in the local government roles? Like, whatever nowadays the women are coming in the government. And so, because the young girls also want to step up into these roles. So, what do you think? Like, just the advice, or what is the importance of being a woman there?
Like that's what I would say. I would say just being a woman where the okay, a century, half a century ago or a century ago, the thought was women couldn't do a lot of things other than household things, right? That, but I think we are now at a point where we don't have that thought process anymore. Um, Majority of them don't, and I hope
Yeah.
that continues like that, right? Uh, we as women can do and achieve anything. We have been on space. We have been in space. We
Yeah.
have been every part of the world. We like scientists, engineers, wherever. So why not local government as well? And not only local but like government as well,
Yeah.
but local government is where you start, because that's where, as I go back to the same word as this is home. So if you want to make a change, you make the change at home and then
Right.
you go from there. So that's where I would start for sure, if that's something that anybody wants to achieve. I don't see why not. um,
Yeah.
you know
So now coming back to the our very own pandemic, which has created so much of havoc. So the past year has been very unique, right? So what was the behind the scenes planning process like given COVID? And is there anything that you'd like the general public to know about the level of coordination that goes into municipal response to the pandemic? And if you want, you can give us any specific example also. Like, you don't have to give all the examples, but you can just say which stood out.
okay. um, there's a lot that goes behind scenes that
Yeah,
general public doesn't see, right?
yeah,
And without going into too much of a details, I would say it took from uh, simple things about closing down, um, is not as easy as it seems. Like, all right, we're going to shut down, right? Simple things, like I was saying, like when we shut down in April, we thought we had to think about elders in our neighborhood, in our town, who may need medications, who may need groceries. Like, how do we provide for them, right? That was a simple thing. But coordination of various departments, police department, fire department, our health department, played and is still continuing to play a big role in um, making sure everybody is safe, right? Our municipal department,
yeah,
administration, public works, like nothing stopped really. The behind, like the township kept, the governance kept going, the municipal building, even though physically is still closed to public, but the work is still going on, right? So
Correct.
right from everyday meetings, like we started having like these leadership everyday meetings to where to like to just organize things of like coming with um solutions to the problems that we could see on the surface, right?
Yeah.
Because initially it was okay, there's a virus, we don't know about this virus. Now what do we do? How do we make sure everybody is safe, right? So we had to come up with, the council was part of coming up with resolutions, right?
Yeah.
What needs to be done. And mayor, I don't know how he does his job, he's like 24/7 on the call.
Yeah.
Same thing with our chiefs as well,
Yeah.
right? They're coordinating with our police department and our fire department and making sure our first responders who um, either paid or volunteer
Yeah.
are safe and doing what they need to do
Yeah.
to come and help the community. So that was our biggest first res- first responsibility, to make
Yeah.
sure the needs of the needed
Mhm.
was taken care of first, right? So that's where we started. And behind the scenes, having those meetings, even through pandemics, was initially hard because we were not set up for virtual meetings,
Yeah. Right.
right? All of a sudden, we were not set up for virtual meetings, so we had to figure out where can we meet, where we can all sit like 20 feet apart from each other, right? So things like that was simple things, like shut down the senior center has the big room, so we could meet there,
Yeah.
things, small things, where where is the need. We found out the food was the biggest need of people, where especially our elders, because they couldn't go to the grocery stores, right?
Yeah.
So then coming up with the idea of possibly 1 hour in the morning is specially open just for elders.
Yeah.
It was before anybody else gets to the store, so the store is
Correct.
clean and like but prior to that was when we did the food donation drive, where we created grocery bags for people whoever asked, no questions asked, like if you need it, we will provide for it,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
That was the whole idea of it. And again, the community came together even for that. We
Yeah.
did the whole drive at the church. Like again, location was a
Yeah.
big problem. Like where do you do it? How do you do it with
Yeah.
no contact, right? You have to have, and we are still dealing with things, but we are a little better a year later.
Yeah.
We know a little better.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
the unknown was the
Yeah.
hard.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Unknown was the hardest part. So, and as you said, none of us living have experienced anything like this, unless you are 100 plus years old. You probably experienced the last pandemic, which was in
Yeah.
1918, right?
Yeah.
So it was so everybody is like we were treading on uncharted waters,
Yeah.
trying to figure out and learn. And it's not just I'm responsible for myself. The local government is responsible for the entire population of the town.
Correct. Yeah.
So if just think about me as my family of me, my husband, my two kids, my two dogs, and my in-laws and my special needs brother-in-law, we were 7 people and 2 dogs in the house, right? But like if you multiply that by,
Yes. Imagine.
just imagine, because you're not talking about household, I'm
Yeah.
talking about the entire town, 30,000 population,
Yeah.
right? So when you multiply what you would do for your own family by 100 times, what would happen?
Yeah. No,
Mm.
and very rightly said, because I could say that the way the unknown fear was there, and we are responsible for ourselves. But when the local government and people involved in that government have to think about the population, it is challenging. when you don't know what you are heading towards. You like, so I would say, frankly, like, West Windsor government, like, you and everybody else involved had made it so comfortable for all of us that we never had to cringe. I was so confident living in this community because we were well informed about what's happening.
I'm glad to hear that, because we really tried hard to be as transparent as we possibly could,
Yeah.
even with what little we knew,
Yeah, right.
you know. Um, and it was evolving, constantly evolving. Sometimes things were changing on an hourly basis. An hour ago we came up with a plan for, oh, maybe we could do X, Y, and Z, and then an hour later was like, nope, that's out of the door, can't do that. it,
Yeah.
it was a constant evolving
Yeah.
um of planning. And again, like, how many people can be together, who are the necessary, absolute necessary people to
Yeah.
run the township where with no glitches, right? So we had to come up with that, like, what can we do, who can work from home, and who
Yeah.
cannot, they
Right.
have to be physically present,
Yeah.
right? Now, DPW, for example, they had to come and pick up the trash. They had to come and do what
Yeah.
needed to be done, right? So that is something they cannot do from home. Many of us are fortunate enough to work from home, but
But
there are many things that happens to run the township that you cannot do from home. You have to,
no.
there's a fire call, firefighters. My husband is a volunteer fireman. They have to go on the call physically. They cannot say, okay, I'll just make the no, that doesn't work, right? Our police department, that
Yeah.
our health department, we had to um, work on not only our health department is responsible for not only just Westminster, but they're responsible for Robbinsville and Hightstown as well. So 3 towns. So imagine their trouble in a health crisis multiplied by 3 towns. three
Wow.
years our town, our school district is um, divided into 2 different towns.
Yeah.
Not only 2 different towns, but 2 different counties,
Oh, yeah. That is a big challenge.
right? So now you're dealing with Westminster and Plainsboro families because of the schools, uh,
Yeah.
Mercer County and Middlesex County because both the towns belong to 2 different counties.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you work like, cohesively
Yeah.
between each towns? And you know those would like, it was not simple. Even today sometimes I think, oh, maybe we can start open the schools down, like, but in back of the mind was like, we have to do thousand
Yeah.
things before we can
Oh,
do.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would love for my kids to go to school full time. Oh my god.
Yeah. Same here.
um
Yeah, but so as we spoke about the school, and you have been like, in PTA, I think forever. Like, you have been from the president to like, whatever roles you have played in PTA. And so what do you view as the successes and areas for improvement regarding the school system's response to COVID, or anything else if you want to, like, refer to?
yeah, I have been in PTA, I think, from very beginning. Even when my kids were in preschool, they went to the Dutch Neck Cooperative Nursery
Yeah.
School. I was president there for that a nursery school, because it was parent-run nursery school, right? It's a cooperative nursery school. Joined Maurice Hawk when my kids moved to Maurice Hawk, and my way of reason for joining PTA was also, again, continuing to volunteer for the community, but also coming from a different country, coming from a completely different school system. It was my way of learning how the school system works, so
Yeah.
I could help my children
Mm-hmm.
along, right? Now during this COVID, obviously, like, I wouldn't say everything is perfect. Nothing is perfect. We have our school district, as we were talking about, it's 2 towns, 2 counties. We have 10 schools.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about on an average 10,000 student population
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
on an average
Correct.
between the 10 schools.
Yeah.
Is it? So 10,000 student population, and then you add the staff members,
Mm-hmm.
right? And PTA is just volunteer parents, a
Yeah.
small group of parents who volunteer their work. Um, Initially, there were a big hiccup because, again, we were not prepared to have virtual schooling. Nobody was.
Mm-hmm.
Our school district was not prepared to have virtual schooling. So, when initially I still remember March 13th of 2020 was our last day of school, and all of us thought 2 weeks
Yeah.
to be off for 2 weeks, and then we'll be off for 2 weeks of spring break, and we will be back in school in a month.
Yeah.
A year later, we are still not back in school. um, Going back to the fact that unknown, right? We did not know. Nobody knew how to plan for it. So I think school has definitely improved from March of 2020 to March of 2021. For sure, they have improved a lot. Like, we have hybrid schooling, school options. We have our IEP school population is actually all in. They're going not only just hybrid, but they're all in now, right? Um, Transportation is again another thing. Yes, you have to keep social distancing. So, given the rules and regulations, I think compared to a lot of other school districts that I've heard that have not even opened, forget about hybrid, they are not even open virtual.
Oh,
There are
yes.
there are school districts in our state who are not even open at all for a year.
Yeah.
So
Imagine.
compared to that, I think we are definitely at a much
Oh, yeah.
better place for sure. I have two children in school, fifth and sixth grade. One of my child is IP eligible, and last school year was basically took my child back with that virtual schooling. With the 100% virtual schooling did not work for my child, right? One of my child is a new middle schooler,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that was a big challenge, and that still is a big challenge. How do you become a middle schooler when you have not even walked into the building?
Yeah.
And it's such a big um, transition for our students, when especially when they switch schools, right, from
Yeah.
elementary to upper elementary, from upper elementary to
Yeah.
middle to high school.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
seniors have had a major
I
challenge
think.
too,
Yeah.
right? So the one thing that I know that the school is looking to see is how can we make this transition for our students better.
Yeah.
I know that because I'm involved, at least in Millstone River part, where I'm the president at Millstone River School, that we are trying to figure out what could we do better this year for transition as opposed to last year's transition, because
Okay.
it's going to be a virtual transition, no back to school nights, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're not only talking about student transitions, but even I think parent transition
Oh,
is more painful, more is a bigger challenge than student transition. Students,
yeah.
our students have taken on this virtual
Oh,
world
yeah.
like a champ.
Yeah. They are just doing it amazing. I'm so proud
They
of them.
are. They are. Our students, our children amaze me how quickly they have taken on this new world that was thrown at them.
Yeah.
No, like no initial,
Yeah.
like it was, I'm blanking out on the word now, but like they had no idea what they were getting into. We had no idea what we were getting into, but I
Yeah.
think our students have done a really good job. um Transition, I think, is the biggest challenge that personally see, and I know the school administration is working really hard on that. I know the administration's biggest concern is the safety,
Yeah.
right? Safety of 10,000 students, safety of the 1,000 plus staff members,
Oh, yeah.
transportation.
The
So
families.
it's not very easy to switch that button,
Oh, yeah.
so they are, I think, doing their best. Can they do better? Well, can everything is not nothing is perfect, right? So that's why I said, in my opinion, transition is the biggest thing that I personally see, that we need to work on how we could transition our students and parents
Yeah.
not only into next grades but next schools, and how do we do that.
Wow. Like, imagine at all levels that, but yeah, I was like, I'm just doing it through Dutch Neck PTA. They approached me for the public speaking program, and I'm doing Speak Up with the Dutch Neck kids. They are like kindergartners and first graders and third graders. And I was like amazed to see the 5-year olds, the way they are like, watching on that screen. I'm like, can you imagine? Like, and they have really taken it up, as you said,
They
like a
have
champ.
simple things that the schools and PTAs are doing is virtual play dates, because I
Yeah,
think academics is important, but I think, for personally my opinion, more than academics, the social, mental health is a lot more important for our young students, because if they are not stable socially and mentally,
yeah,
academics cannot take them far.
yeah,
Right.
true.
So, simple things that the schools are trying to do is virtual play dates,
Yeah,
where to socially engage the students, because they're not. 80% of our school population is virtual.
yeah,
You know,
true. Yeah,
so
my kids are virtual. So,
you
yeah,
know, we're talking about 15% of the population is doing hybrid or all in. Very small percentage is doing all in, right? Um, because of the needs
yeah,
that, so how do we socially engage the students? I
yeah,
think that's the
very,
biggest
yeah,
challenge. That's the biggest challenge that anybody has, as a parent, as a teach educator, as a school administration. I think that's the biggest challenge we have. And going back to the transition, when we do go back to what would be the new normal, right?
yeah,
This is not normal, but what would be the new normal? Because I don't think we will be back to where that's just my personal opinion. I think everybody has changed, everything is changed. There is a shift in
oh,
everything. So, whatever would be the new normal when we do go back fully, what would that transition look like?
yeah,
How do we make our students feel comfortable walking into the school building again?
yeah,
Right? There are students who have never walked into any school. There are students that have never taken a ride on the bus because
yeah, there are.
how do we make that transition? I think is going to be the biggest challenge
Oh, yes, yes,
for
yes.
all of us.
Yeah, I agree. And so before I end, I'll just have another question that since you were involved in the West Windsor Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance, so what are your aspirations for a more pedestrian friendly, walkable neighborhood? And how do we go get there?
Oh my God, that's a topic very close to my heart. Because going back when I was my kid's age, I used to bike to school,
Yeah.
10 kilometers. I used to
Hmm.
bike to school, right? So I'm talking about 5-6 miles. I would bike to school on my own. Now we are not even talking about a mile away that our kids could go.
Yeah.
So I would love to see our children, our neighborhood, our community, to be able to comfortably walk or bike from location to location. The biggest thing is, how do we connect them? We have sidewalks, but then the sidewalks need to have connectivity. If
Yeah.
the sidewalk ends abruptly, then it doesn't go anywhere, then it doesn't help,
Yeah.
right? So that, I think, is one of my aspirations, that I would like to see connections happening. I live on off of Cranberry Road,
Yeah.
and still not a straight connection to the train station. It's
Yeah,
a
I know. I know.
so it's just a simple thing, right?
Yeah.
I bike with my kids all the time, but then it's not only the connectivity, but also community education, because I bike with my kids all the time, and people see kids on the road and they don't realize that they need to slow down when the bikers are on the road, not only adult bikers, but young bikers.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
that education, I think, is a lot more important too, because as a biker, as a runner, and as a commuter, as a vehicle owner as well, like, I, because I'm a biker and a runner, when I see somebody else do that, I slow down, you go
Yeah,
around,
right.
right? But many people don't do that. This past summer, our neighborhood, we have been our neighborhood is has been encouraging our children to bike, and teaching them road and bike safety. Pretty
Mhm.
much every summer we do this. And this one incident is comes to my mind. This past summer, we were three adults, and we had nine children with us, and we took a bike route. We wanted to show our children how easy you can get to Millstone River or Community Middle School or High School North. Those are the three schools from off of Cranberry Road that we would go to, right?
Yeah,
So there are parts of the roads that has shoulders and parts of the roads that has sidewalks, but parts of the
yeah,
road don't have anything. But you can still do that. And I'm saying we were three adults and nine children biking in single file lane, but kid you not, how many cars just zoomed past us? So I think that is very important. The
yeah.
community
This is scary
education,
too.
education of sharing the road. Yes, you are in a car, you are in a vehicle, so you may or may not get hurt, but the other person will
Of
definitely
course,
get
of
hurt.
course. Yeah,
Right. So I think that education is very important, and the Bicycle Pedestrian Alliance, I think they are wonderful at doing that, but we just need to expand that education ahead, where people understand that even if there is no bike path or sidewalk and people are on the road, you just be careful, give
yeah, right.
people. Um,
It's no rocket science.
it's not. Um, but on the other hand, I also want the bicyclists and the pedestrians, either walkers or bikers or runners, to also be mindful of the fact that they need to make themselves visible, right? How many times have I ridden on a dark night where I all of a sudden there's somebody in front of me who's wearing complete black clothes, dark clothes, with no visibility. So if I'm not watchful as a car driver,
Yeah,
well, there's
yeah,
only a mishap waiting to happen. So
yeah.
as a pedestrian, as a biker, I think that part of education is also very important, that the Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance does a really good job at um, doing, making simple things and just put some things that
Yeah, yeah,
items, right? The reflective things. It's not like you don't have to, if you don't want to buy a reflective vest, you just need to put some reflective strips on your
yeah,
shoes or on your bikes or on your backpack or anything that you carry.
yeah.
So
Just get some duct tapes and just,
exactly. So I
yeah,
think yes, completing a complete street with bike paths and shoulders and sidewalks is very important, but I think the education is very important as well. The roads
wow, this
are
is
very
this
important.
is a very unique thing. I'm so impressed because as you're saying, I completely agree with you because sometimes I've seen the bikers not following what they should be, and many times the cars will just zoom.
Right.
And like, so this education is really important. And
Absolutely.
so, oh my God, you have been like, this is by far such a good and engaging interview. Like, I'll not say interview, it's just a good conversation with you, Sonia.
Conversation. Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
I think it's a conversation that we have to continue keeping. Like, we have
yes,
to continue the conversation.
yeah,
Um, because only good will come from there.
Yeah. So thank you, Sonia, for doing what you're doing. You are creating a good platform for the people. They look upon you and they feel that, oh, Sonia is a role model, and then let's follow that path. So thank you for creating that path,
Thank
Sonia. And I'm
you.
happy that you are a part of West Windsor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It means
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And you
thank
have a good day.
you too. Bye.